What was your first experience playing pool where you noticed a difference between the way women and men were treated as players?
I would say I started playing at the age of 11, and like the whole community was dominated by men, right? So I remember going to the pool hall every practice session, every tournament, it was men dominance, right? So in order to improve, I figured that it would be great for me to start playing tournaments with the guys. So I didn't really play a lot of women tournament growing up, so I kind of got used to be around guys.
They treated me like I think you would expect most men in a pool room treating a 19-year-old woman, 19, 20-year-old woman would be treated, right? I mean, I think I was there more as an object to like look at instead of being respected as a player.
Most likely, the man told me a woman cannot be as good as a man. I shouldn't be on the team because I'm a woman. But, I always had the support of my dad, and he taught me to be a strong woman. So I never really cared.
It's a little different because also when you're not, I feel like positive side, when you're not playing your best, there's always people still cheering for you, saying it's alright, it's gonna be, eventually it's gonna be good and stuff like that. Versus when man is playing bad, they're all like, just, oh, you're just terrible. You have to quit, sell your keys. So that's the positive part of being a girl. And the negative part is obviously, sometimes way too much attention, and unless you're seeking or loving this attention, sometimes it can be too much because there's obviously more women in pool than men, so women are getting targeted more because of just our minority, if I can say
Yeah.
that.
What have been the biggest challenges for you as a woman player?
Well, as we talked about yesterday, the short fingers. But also sometimes it's tough to focus on one thing at a time because of how woman brain works, where you can multitask a lot of things. So sometimes you think about so many things, and it's sometimes tough to really pull yourself together and focus on one thing at a time.
Honestly, the biggest challenge was probably just kind of asserting dominance. Like, you're here to take the sport very seriously. A lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot. I was very lucky growing up as a junior because I came in, the junior scene when it was really, really popping, and a lot was happening. But a couple people, thought it was a joke when I would show up for my match, and they were like, "Oh, no, 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 who's my actual opponent?" Because I mean, I was 9 when I started playing pool, so I understand that thought process behind that.
Some of the challenges for me are, for example, my my structure, because I'm a little bit short in general. Like, women are a little bit shorter, and also when I have to, I mean, because of our physical structure, sometimes it bothers us in some shots or on the break when we don't have as much space as some guys, if you know what I mean. Then another challenge is just the way our brain is wired, because for us it's a little bit harder to not get distracted when playing a match for a long time. For guys, I feel it's much easier to just stay focused and just focus on that one thing for long and long and long. And girls are kind of just for women, it's easier to listen to voices around us, just get distracted easier. And another thing about our brain is that, like, our emotions are kind of get into our game more often than with the guys. So a few challenges there.
I don't know what it is, but there is a difference between how women are running the rack and how men are running the rack. I feel like the main's brain is just sees the simplicity, and I don't want to offend anybody by saying that, but I feel like men are very just goal oriented and they're very simple. Women just think about so many things at a time. It's just the way nature designed us, right? So if you look at the layouts, the runouts that men are doing, you can see the big difference. It's just easier, simpler, right? Less complicated.
Are there barriers that you still face being a woman?
Yeah, there are still barriers. I still meet men who probably don't even really play pool, And when they find out that I am a woman professional or a retired, semi-retired professional, whatever you want to or call it, they will still say, oh, if I have a couple of drinks, I'm pretty sure I can beat you. I play really well. You know, you just face that chauvinism a lot in the pool room. And it can be difficult to hold your tongue because you don't want to come across as harsh or be branded as a Karen or difficult to deal with, but at the same time, you want to stand your ground.
The way women are sexualized in the game, right? So you really have to make sure that you curve your path through by your ability, by your skill, because there's certain players, certain women who definitely are objectified a lot, and I think it came from 90s the way women used to dress when they played pool, so it was more like a sexual object for men. Right, so nowadays I feel like because of the dress code and because myself and all other women are carrying ourselves so professionally, it's not a thing anymore, right? We are professionals, we're dressed professionally, and we want to be treated equally according to our skill level, right? I don't think any of us would like to be seen as a object, but professional.
Well, to start with, as we don't have as many tournaments as men, and our prize money is not as big, which is also understanding because there's less people watching women pool, I suggest. And it's definitely a struggle to also improve your game. You always have to compete with men, and it's great. Like sometimes you lose to a better player, you have an opportunity to learn. But also when you enter every single men tournament and you lose, sometimes it might shake your confidence a little bit. So it's a great thing to compete with men, but sometimes it also have a downside of losing your confidence a little bit.
Name women who inspire you, either pool players or not.
Honestly, a tennis player named Iga Swiatek. I don't know if I'm saying her last name right, but she is like a woman that's really inspired me in sport. She's just a super strong tennis player and very focused and maybe a little more reserved. She's not like one of the tennis players who's always out there um, trying to talk with everybody and be super popular or famous. She's just really focused in on what she's doing and like just playing tennis. She's really dialed in.
You know, women that inspire me are women that are strong competitors, but also good human beings. You know, they are kind to their fans. They are kind to other players. You know, when I came up in the WPBA, there were some women that really went for, I think, intimidation technique. You know, you become friends with them later, but in the beginning, they really want to show you who's boss. And then there are some who are just kind to you no matter what, right off the bat. So ones that come to mind are Kelly Fisher, has always been a really kind human being. Jasmine, even though she's a little bit shy, she was always really warm and welcoming. And Monica, Jennifer Beretta. But off the table, I think strong competitors like Serena Williams. I mean, just your kind of standard ones that you think about when you think of women in sports.
When I was younger, when I was growing up, I was really inspired by Princess Diana. She was like my role model in life because she just dedicated so much time and effort helping other people and just being a good human, doing charity work. And I always thought, if I ever become a millionaire, I will give so much back. I want to be like her. I want to help children in different countries, and I just want to give back, right? And on the table, I would say my two biggest inspiration were always Alison Fisher and Jasmine Ocean. Obviously, we all watched Alison play, right? She was my hero. She still is. She's incredible. And Jasmine, I really admire her work ethic and dedication. And I actually uh, took example, how the athlete should be by watching her doing her CrossFit, her workouts, the way she carries herself, the way she practices, because she is the definition of the real athlete. And this is what I want to be.
I remember Jasmine came to Bulgaria when I just started playing pool, maybe a year or two before she came, and that was very inspiring too because she's a great athlete. First of all, that made me much more dedicated to working out and going to the gym and really keeping myself in shape, eating healthy. And I think these two things are like main, not just for playing pool, just to live good in general, right? But in order to keep your mind shape and to feel good when you have to play long matches, that's very important.
不一定是运动员。Okay. It's probably my mother. It's probably her mother. Because in the early age, her mom is traveling with her, so they are been doing years with the traveling in the tournament. So before, after tournament, her mother will give some advice or to trying to talk to her and 而且她知道怎么去开导我，我觉得对。So her mother is traveling with her since she was 8, starting to learning pool. So her mother is one of the person to understand her and then know how about her thought and how about her feeling during she's in the tournament.
Who have been your heroes and role models in pool?
I'd say Allison Fisher and April Larson. I kind of grew up around April in Minnesota, so she was just always the older sister for me and role model, pool player, kind of showing me what I want to be when I grow up. And I think Allison she's been in the game so long and she's been at the top of the game for so long. So I really respect that. And she's just a great person also. So I'd say those two for sure.
There's so many out there. I mean, obviously, my parents are big role models for me. My father had a love of the game. He's kind of why I first started playing. Not that he was teaching me, but I just wanted to be around him. And I've always found that his competitive spirit kind of became my competitive spirit. Sorry. And then for me, my mother is a strong role model because she raised me on her own, really, and so being a strong woman, she was kind of my biggest role model growing up. But also, I'm going to give a shout out to Jeanette Lee because she really paved the way for women in pool and made a name for herself and kind of made women's pool what it is today. And so she's always been a big role model for me as well.
What actually is wild is my coach June Myers, who's on the WPBA. She's the one who got me into the BEF. When I was 9, she took me aside because I joined junior leagues, and she's the one who said, I will train you for 3 months, before the BEF Junior Nationals, and I will get you in tip-top shape, and we are going to try to go win it. And I got second that year. So it's wild how my first, coach was a female, and I really think that helped shape the future of my career.
What are your recollections of the first times you started beating men players on a consistent basis?
Oh, I love it because I just remembered so many people telling me women cannot be as good and I shouldn't be on the team. And I was just like, oh, yeah, wait, I met you another day. So, yeah, I love to compete with the men. But also because I obviously recognize they are much better in our sport or in most likely, to be honest, any sport. Men are kind of better than a woman. So for me, it's always a good challenge because I can learn so much and grow on it. So yeah, I don't see it in a negative perspective, all positive.
It's definitely funny because when you're a little girl and you just go to and out in the tournament, nobody cares. But when you start beating the guys and going deeper and deeper, that's where the controversial things start happening. And I remember facing some of the very harsh comments when I was little saying, well, women shouldn't even be allowed to play in men's tournament. Well, if she's allowed to play in our tournament, why we can't go and play in women's, right? So when you're not winning, nobody cares. When you start winning, of course, people's gonna start complaining. So that's one of the things that I faced when I was younger.